Long time, Rusty. Hi, Paige. I do like sitting in bliss, but I also enjoy company. We have to come to recognize that the vast majority of humanity is in a deep, deep state of delusion. I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of Kali Yuga, we don't really get more messed up than what we are. You can't really get more delusional. It's ironic because so close, so far, so close and yet so far, is that we're so close to enlightenment, but we're also so deluded at the same time. It's like stagflation. It's like, how does this happen? But that's where this close to being fully enlightened and as far away as possible, also. You get a feel for people that you just can't talk to them about this, about spirituality. It's just, you can't. It's just like talking to a dream character about the dream. They won't know what you're talking about. I've done it. I've talked to dream characters about the dream and they just go, huh? Well, I guess that's what I'm doing in the waking state. I'm talking to dream characters about the dream and they go, huh? We have created this suffering because we're out of alignment. Well, that's part of it. We're out of alignment with nature. If we would have just stayed with our natural evolutionary process, I think those of us who call ourselves human, we'd be in a very different state of consciousness. but we took the other path. We took the path most traveled. I'm not even at the attack point yet, right? It's what is it? First they ignore you, then they make fun of you, then they attack you, then you win. Non-conceptuality is still in the ignored phase by the people in the know or in the power. Yeah, it destroys the illusion from the very core of it, at the root of it, which is basically the voice in the head. No one, it's so simple and yet so outlandish that no one wants to say it. No one wants to go that far. It just can't be, right? It can't be that the voice in the head is Satan. Satan. How could it be that obvious? It's so basic. Humanity has reached a certain level, plateaued at a certain level of self-awareness. And in order to get through it, to take the next level, the next natural step of the evolution of greater self-awareness is to transcend thought. That's it. That's that's all it is you need to go through it, transcend it, let it die, and something new is reborn. Something new with a higher level of self-awareness, which is perhaps this planetary consciousness, whatever that means. I mean, if this is all self-contained, if this all, we don't need multiverses or any imaginary physical realms, an imaginary physical realm, imagine that. But if it's all self-contained, then planets would somehow be connected to consciousness, right? Like every realm from subatomic, from quarks to subatomic to atomic to molecular to cellular to body to planetary to solar to galactic to universal, that I believe is the ladder of the stairway to heaven. The steps, the 10 steps to get back to you, back to the source. And unfortunately, because we've diverted our attention through technology, we've diverted our attention to paying attention to the cellular, molecular, atomic, subatomic. That's all distraction. We've transcended that. We've that is how we got to the step that we're on the ladder, on the stairway. And now we're taking a step back down because we're we're looking at we're being drawn back into our past, into these lower levels of self-awareness. Yeah, well, yeah. And then just like Inception, the thought realm is a dream within a dream, right? The digital realm is having a dream within a dream. And just like Inception, the dude within a dream that's in a dream within a dream, that's not a very good place, is it? They're not having a lot of fun in the dream that's in a dream that's in a dream. They want to get out. But what what humanity's trying to do is make the dream real. See, and right. It's a Ponzi because if you create a realm that's based on this realm, then this realm that automatically by default makes this realm more fundamental than the realm that you're creating. So it gives the appearance that this is fundamental reality, right? If the digital realm and the thought realm is based on the physical realm, then perhaps the physical realm is fundamental reality, but it doesn't work that way. You're creating a Ponzi scheme. My salvia experience is a strong component to it. Like everything arises at once simultaneously and then disappears all at once simultaneously in a given frequency, and that causes the a wave type feeling to like reality. It's well, this reality. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, in one respect, from one perspective, everything's happening at once. So the body is a location. So your name here is a location. A location isn't two coordinates on a grid because you're that location requires two, right? It requires a superimposition of a map overlaid. So if a location of you in this realm is your name here, right? That's where you are. The real you, the God, can be found at the location of your name here in your world. So the body is at the same place at different times. right? Being a location, the body is a location. So you are in the same place at different times in this realm as the body. And it's hard to say this one. It's you're at the same time at different places as mind, which is what the wave function is expressing, is that everything all at once, everything rising and passing all at once. So you exist at the same place at different times as your body, and the different places at the same time as mind. And that, and that's the many worlds, right? That's the multiverse. Is that you exist different time, different places at the same time as your mind. So that's basically everyone, right? I'm existing at a different place at the same time as you. And the converse is true for you. Like a solution seeker, a long time. So I'm pretty sure that if someone adopted my model, that the math would work. Whatever math you could apply to my model, I'm sure it would work. And that is that the multiverse, that there's kind of a backward causality going on, and the multiverse is just other people. Each multiverse, each possible universe that's possible to occur, is the life of another person. Retrocausality, that's the word. Retrocausality. Yeah. That explains. So the only choice that's being made is in the death state between lives. You get to choose the DVD, or the DVD that has the video game of Roy Dobson. You throw that in, and that's the freedom. That's the amount of movement within that game as the game flows along. The character in the frame. That's as much free will as you have. It's all on a DVD. You can't get off the DVD, right? So there's your free will. There's choice is narrowed down to one per life, basically one actual fundamental life changing choice, and that only those choices are the ones that manifest as a multiverse. I'm sure it would all work out. It would all make perfect sense. And then we could all just have it all contained within this one observable universe that science is supposed to do. Right? The multiverse is basically no different than imagining up God. It really is no difference. Well, maybe, but it certainly isn't within this lifetime that you make a choice to go get ice cream and fucking the entire fucking universe, because that's what quantum mechanics has shown. Nothing can happen in isolation. You can't have a local experience that's separate from the universe, without the universe, all of it adapting at the same time in perfect synchronicity, like starlings, right? Like a flock of starlings. You can't there's no free will in there, is there? Like one starling can't decide, well, I'm going to go over here instead, because it would run into everyone would just be running into everyone, all the starlings. So there's actually no free will on an individual basis. It's the movement of the whole thing. Well, yeah, the initial choice, I think that you could probably get it down. Just the initial choice was to enter this game, to play the game. But there is some sort of being able to shift your awareness within the video game. I believe that's one can shift their attention. I believe maybe that's where the free will is. Choice is a tough one. I We should keep it limited. Talk about choice should be limited. The shifting attention. No, I think it's more like a video game than a movie. It certainly feels more like a video game than a movie, right? Because a movie, there's no interaction. It's it's interesting because a DVD video game, there's a limited amount of actions that can take place in that video game, right? If you played it a million times, eventually it would be redundant. Like you'd be replaying the same game that you've played. And I think that's what's happened to the species video, the human species DVD, is that we've gone through all of the scenarios on the DVD and now it's just redundancy. Right. So now there's no more novel experiences that can be possibly experienced in this video game anymore. So we're moving to a literal video game where there's different rules, right? There's no gravity. There's a different experience than this one. And it will seem as real as this, except that you're trading in some senses for thoughts, basically. You're trading in the sense of gravity for thoughts. So eventually, if you just went along in complete delusion the whole time and just played the game the whole time, that eventually at the end of the universe, like, yeah, you eventually would wake up. Like, eventually, although you kind of, it's predetermined that everyone's going to be enlightened. But it might be the end of the physical, like, it might be the heat death, like, it might be a trillion fucking years from now, relatively speaking. Whatever free will there is, it definitely is not associated with the I, with the voice in the head. The voice in the head is just narrative describing what's going on. It has no control over anything. In that case, Rusty, it would almost be like waking up from a sleep and not remembering all the dreams you had. Where I think like the story of the Buddha when he awakened, he remembered like 100,000 past lives. So, mhm. SS, do do astronomers go along with the multiverse? Like that's physicists saying this multiverse stuff, right? It's not astronomers. Like the multiverse, they literally mean the entire physical realm basically goes through mitosis, right? It's total nuts. We're supposed to accept their fantasy worlds, but we can't talk about spirit and God. Yeah, it's a necessity for their equations to work, right? So you can't have both. I've come to the realization that you can't have the laws of physics and free will. That's what is spurring this whole multiverse nonsense with the brainwashing that's going on right now. Is that they're trying to hold on to the laws of physics and free will. And in order to do that, to have both of these ideas congruent as experience, then the experience itself has to change, right? It must be that the entire universe splits into two every time there's a choice made because they want to hold on to free will. Yeah, because of just what I said, I believe, right? They want to hold on to their notion of free will, but the laws of physics says that everything is just in complete you can't have a localized event without the entire in separation from the universe. Everything needs to move as a unity as a whole, like a flock of starlings. It all moves in complete synchronicity and unity. So you can't have a localized event without the entire universe being in on it. So where's free will in that? Um, yeah. So I agree. I agree that there is no free will. That the body and the the movements of the physical world, it's basically mechanistic in nature. I don't have a problem with that. But you're not the self. That's the thing, right? I mean, I'm sorry, the self is not the body. So they have to let go of either the laws of physics or free will. And in order to let go of free will, then you let go of the notion that the self is the body. That's all. You just they've just misinterpreted what the self is. And they just trying to reinforce their notion of what self is. Yeah, that's everyone just seek your own enlightenment and let the world adjust as appropriate. The purpose of your world, of everyone's world, is for your enlightenment. That's it. So the reason for my world is my enlightenment. It's not to free humanity, which I sometimes get caught up in. My The purpose of my life is to free humanity. No, the purpose of my life is to free Roy. Many worlds actually does away with free will. No, it's saying that free will is the ultimate power, isn't it? Your will, the power of your will, split the entire universe into two. Yet your will, you're wanting to change something in the universe, made the universe bifurcate. Like that's giving ultimate power to free will, is it not? But the arising of the choice itself, where did that come from? What I'm saying is that the arising of the choice itself is just an illusion that projects an individually existing ego that's there to make. But when you look at your will, when you say I'm not going to do this again and you do it, or you say I'm going to do this and you don't do it, well, that right there disproves that your will has any say in the matter. Right? Like if you look at actual experience, a person's actual experience of their willpower, when they say that everyone's done this, right? Everyone's addicted to some fucking thing. Some people more than others. So addicts, their will means nothing, right? Or to an addict is negligible, right? So where is will? It's an illusion, right? It's just a narrative overlaid, and sometimes it hits and sometimes it misses. Sometimes it's accurate enough. The description of what the prediction is, the description matches something that happened in the reality close enough that it's right, and sometimes it's not. It's all bullshit because it's exactly what is projecting the illusion of a separately existing self. There's no such thing as choice. No, many worlds is ridiculous. What's possible, right? What's possible is what happens. It was possible for me to live my life, and it's possible for you to live your life, and it's possible for everyone to be living their lives, and it's all the same possibility. It's the same it's the same awareness that's living out all of its potentialities simultaneously. That's the multiverse. The many worlds are here as other people. And again, if people actually started paying attention to this process, they'd recognize this within their own consciousness. They'd start to understand thought itself, the thought process itself. If you just shut the fuck up and watch the thought process instead of just being completely engaged frontal lobe deep in it and seeing what it does and just going along with it, the new mode of investment has to be watching, hitting the thought, the system of thought, the voice in the head from outside that system. This is non-conceptuality. This is the new mode of investigation. It's not new at all, of course, right? It's thousands of years old, but it needs to be reintroduced. Spirit needs to be reintroduced into the mind-body duality problem. It's the only way that they're going to solve this consciousness bullshit problem is if people start meditating. Look at it from a state of stillness, from outside the system itself. That's the story, right? The life review. Yeah, right. It's not really, it's a religion, maybe, that isn't built on just mythology, right? It's not just, it shows how mythology is actually relating to your direct experience, right? It's all metaphor. All these great battles and between and gods and all the Hindu story, Christ and the angels and all that stuff. It's all metaphor for your direct mundane everyday life. You're battling demons. Every time that Maya wants to pull your attention away from self, that's a battle, basically. You could look at it as a battle. But we have to make it part of our lives, right? It's all metaphor of your very life. And egos, it's so obvious that how it's all just thought based, because wouldn't you say that countries have egos as well? Countries are egos. Because why would a country want to expand? Why would a country want to get bigger, right? Only Ponzi schemes require growth. So the United States of America is an ego because it's all made up, right? It's all imagined in the symbols that make up the Constitution or whatever. Yeah, Rusty. Rusty freaking died, so he's the one that answers questions about after death. Yeah, he's the one to answer those questions. In order to prepare for death, I would say learn to be comfortable with the space between thought, in the space between thoughts, as the space between thoughts, because there might be some existential crisis going on if there's just you and nothing else. Like basically, yeah, it's good to be ready for these things because it's inevitable, the passing of the body. Yep, solution seekers got this stuff nailed down for sure. It's like the plant got plucked out, but the roots are still there. Not plucked out, cut off. The plant got cut off, but the roots are still there, so it will just keep growing until it's plucked out by the roots. And plucked out by the roots means that the voice in your head is shut up. There's silence there. But it's the absolute isn't, it's not like it goes away and it comes. It's just obscured. Just like the night sky is it's always there, right? Space is always there, but the sun hitting the atmosphere obscures the night sky, obscures space, but space is always there. It's just becomes obscured in the waking state. But it's always here, it's always present. It is the presence. Yes, the void is always here. Like what I was just trying to say is that it's just obscured by thoughts and sensations, just like the night sky is obscured by the light from the sun hitting the atmosphere. There's quote unquote nothing immediately, right? As immediate as possible. Everything arises from the potential. There really is no linear causal effect. Big things from this paper, Solution Seeker. Big things. But that's not the spirit. That's you're that's not the spirit world though. Like that's the mind world. That's the mind realm. See, Rusty, I hate to break it to you, but you're not enlightened. So when you died, you weren't experiencing exactly, I don't think, what an enlightened being would experience. You were experiencing from your own perspective, right? You were still providing narrative to what was going on. So the Mandelbrot set and the Julia set, it's the same equation, like that really short. I don't know what it is right now. I'd recognize it if I saw it. But if there's thoughts, it's mind. If you yeah. Yeah, that's it. So that's the same equation for the Julia set and the Mandelbrot set? How does that work? So is that what you're using as a state of superposition? The equation itself would be a state of superposition that can manifest as either the oh, well, that clears it right up. Thanks. Oh, hmm. Hey, Denissa. And a Julia set, can that be, can there be islands? Like there's no islands in the Mandelbrot set, right? It's all joined up. So is a Julia set kind of like an island within the Mandelbrot set? Wow. No, the no link came up. Nope. They don't let you share links. That's so weird. Determined by the equation, but you can choose what path to take to have a different visual experience of that equation. And it's literally infinite, right? So yeah, it's it's almost like samsara, but when you stay, the answers that stay within the set, that's the darkness, right? That's the dark. So the dark is actually the absolute. The dark is represents the nothingness that is staying within the set as one undifferentiated unity. And the way I see it is that each Mandelbrot set with each of each of the black areas, which they call the set, right? The set actually isn't the colored stuff that you see, right? The set is actually the black. So what if each one of those Mandelbrot sets, the black parts, was another life, was a person basically, another multiverse. And the colors and the images, they're generated by deeper and deeper resolution, right? So it's infinite resolution. You just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into it, but it never ends. So in a way, it's samsara. So it's beautiful, and the more attention you pay to it, the greater attention you pay to it, the more information it will give you. But eventually, I guess you just get tired of it because it's infinite. You just go, okay, it's beautiful, but I've had enough. I'm done watching the Mandelbrot set now. Oh, okay. So in your theory, the dark part is the physical realm and the colored part is the thought realm. Okay. Well, the way I look at it is that the colored part is body mind, right? Is consciousness, it's awareness of something. And the dark part is the absolute, right? It stays within the set. It's Brahman Atman, not going out into beyond into duality. Well, no offense, but I think mine works better. Of course. I'm afraid to because I think I'll screw this up and I'll end up not videotaping anymore. I'm sure they both work. I'm sure that what you're saying works just as well. I mean, wherever there's a really fine, distinct, definite between one thing and another, I think you need to use that. It really matters less about what the things are, what the positive is made of and what the negative is made of, or like specific. What matters is that we recognize there's a single unified awareness, and that's expressed through the duality, and it doesn't matter. There has to be two very distinct separate things, and we can't blur the edges of those two things to try to get them to merge into the one thing. The two things are the two things. You can't make that. You can't put the positive and the negative together to cancel them out. That's not really how it works. You have to realize that the positive and the negative are illusions, and you can't dispel the illusions by putting two illusions together. So that's what sex is. You can't just have female and male ramming into each other a bunch of times to cancel each other out. You'll just create a new fractal world, which is another person. That was good. Thanks. I felt it, man. I felt it as it was coming out. It's like, yeah, yeah, this is good. Yeah, so that's what they're doing, right? That's what's causing the whole mind body problem. The consciousness is consciousness and illusion bullshit is because they're trying to solve the dualistic problem of mind body, all of the dualisms by mixing the illusions together to try to dispel the illusions. But you can't, like I said, you can't do that. You can't artificially just mix. You can't mix oil and water together. No matter how much you stir it, they'll they'll always be separate. So you have to come to the realization that they're both illusions, and then you stop engaging in the process that projects the illusions. So I guess the way to transcend the Mandelbrot is to just no longer engage in the equation, I guess, no longer put inputs, because there needs to be an initial input number into the equation, correct? So that's where it all starts, is that there's the choice is to, so there's the equation, and then you have a choice as to what the initial input is. And then after that, it just goes, right? It's mechanical after that. So maybe the free will, the choice that we have, is the initial input that we put into the equation. And then after that, we just witness it unfold mechanically. Yeah, no worries. Yes. Yes. That's kind of the same. It's the same. Reiteration is the secret, right? This is why that Wheeler's participatory universe is so important. It's That's what it's expressing, is the reiteration of samsara. You keep using the output of the equation for the new input, and that's the redundancy. You just keep using the output as the new input. Until first input, where does that come from? Right. The and I think that must be where the initial choice is, right? Well, the initial choice would be to design the game. I when you get down to like why it was designed and how it was designed, it's kind of all speculation, but it's fun. So either way, solution seeker, if you follow thought to the end or if you follow sensations to the end, you'll get to the end, right? Like there's a way to transcend both sets, right? If one set is thought and one set is sensations, then there must be a way to transcend both. Well, if you can wrangle that, that's pretty. If you can figure out if that's kind of how I feel about the number system message, is that it also includes the why, right? It's samsara includes within it the why, the reason for existence itself, the reason for life itself. Yeah. So yeah. Well, isn't the voice in your head a disincarnate, a disembodied voice? The voice in the head has a disincarnate source, separated by time or in time. I guess that separation would be time. That's what the separation is. The separation between the voice in the head and the self, I guess, or maybe the body, would be time. Time would be what separates each multiverse. See, all that's Danissa, right? That's what's happening with the voice in your head is exactly disincarnate, isn't it? There's nothing physical about the voice in the head. So it's basically popping in from some other wanting to party. Yeah, the thought realm, basically just the information, the voice in the head, which is information, would become the new accepted fundamental reality rather than the senses. So I believe that in the beginning the word was with God and the word was God is expressing this state where there was not much attention paid to the physical realm, and so therefore it was more of a yin realm, which is non-physical, which is more emotion and thought based. So yeah, so it flips on a grand scale. It flips from thought realm, mental, to physical, mental, physical, mental, physical. On the biggest scale right now, the physical realm is concluding, and we're flipping back into the thought realm, which is in the beginning was the word was God, and the word is with God. But I think that this digital realm is a transitionary stage between the physical realm and the thought realm. The digital realm seems to be maybe a transition stage between these two massive iterations. Well, when we die, we actually go back to the spirit realm where there's not even thoughts. There's just pure awareness, pure unbounded. It's hard to explain, right? Because there's nothing, there's only the frame of reference with the nothing framed. But imagine that this death is the final death, right? Let's say that the death of this body is the final human experience because of the extinction event, right? So there's no more coming back as a human. So what would we have? We wouldn't have a physical conduit, right? There wouldn't be no physical conduit to experience this realm anymore of the senses. So you'd move into something that's more thought based. You'll take the ego to be more of your thoughts than your sensations. Well, in my world, the spiritual realm is the pure. I don't want to call it void, right? Because void sounds like it's non-existence. But the spiritual realm is that which is devoid of experience. Yeah, so words, people have in their own mind what a certain word means, right? What it's expressing. So it's tricky. Yeah, well, the void, the zero, which is also known as nothing, it it isn't a void or a lack. It's the source. It's the potential from which everything arises. So we have it's because of our inverted view that the physical realm is fundamental reality, and then whatever isn't physical is nothing, right? Is a lack. It doesn't exist in and of itself. It exists only as a lack of things. That's our inverted perspective. So all we need to do is just look at everything that arises and passes as being the illusion, and the void is potential, which is source, which is life, which is the absolute. Like sleep isn't a void, it's sleep. Right? Sleep isn't nothingness. It's got its own word. It's called sleep. It's not called nothing. Just like death is the same word, is a different word for the same state, just like extinction is a different word for the same state, relatively speaking, as sleep and death. Well, yeah, see, our inverted view makes ridiculous people, smart people make ridiculous statements like, is reality an illusion? It's like, well, that's a contradictive statement. So the physical realm is an illusion, yes, but that's not reality. Because it's the illusion. It's existence itself. So the absolute, yeah. Just imagine dreamless sleep, except that you're aware. You're just imagine what it would be like to be self-aware during dreamless sleep. That's about as close as you can get to what I'm trying to explain. I feel that the deeper one can get into thought-free awareness, the more you'll understand. I don't think that words and me talking and trying to describe the state, after a point, it doesn't help anymore. You have to experience it, right? So understanding of what I'm speaking will come through the experience of it. That's why we engage in the practice more than we engage in the blah, blah, blah. So again, it's all pivotal on practice. Well, look at all the kitties. My goodness. There's so many kitties here. What do you think? Look at all the kitties. Callie will probably leave soon. It's jealous. Paige's kitties. Paige Kitsy's all healed up. She's none of her skin is raw anymore. It's all got nice new growth on it. She's doing really well. Hey, Kitty. Well, I didn't want to touch her when she was all gross, but now she's fine. She had clumps and sores all over her. It's like, ugh. I pat her on the head, and now she's like, "Oh, you're all nice and soft now." Look at this tail. Are you kidding me? Yeah, right. And now I'm sure that you can see how you're bringing the sleep state into this state, right? The the timelessness and the peace that one experiences in dreamless sleep as they adhere to the practice, you'll notice that that is starting to seep into this life, right? Into the waking state. So the qualities the of the dreamless sleep state, which is timelessness and selflessness and just peace and contentment and effortlessness, it starts coming into this world. So it, yeah, it's the awareness becomes more prevalent in all states. Like being self-aware while you're sleeping, that's pretty advanced shit for sure. Even if it was just a fluke. Well, I guess it all just kind of happens. It's not like you're intending. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that, like I keep saying, the dreamless sleep state is always present. It's just that the waking state obscures it with thoughts and sensations, just like the daylight sky obscures space, the view of space. The space is always there, right? Just like the state of dreamless sleep of the absolute is always here, but it's just obscured. That happens to me. Yeah. Like I'll be meditating and I know I'm not sleeping, but I'm in a state where I've lost track of the world, but I'm not sleeping. And in the float tank especially, like it just almost. Now, when you're looking into that equipment, would you say, given your experiences, that it's entirely plausible that you're not looking through that device, you're looking into it? So it's projecting exactly as it was designed. The tool is projecting what it was designed to detect, but it's actually projecting it, right? There's nothing there. That's the thing, right? Is that there's nothing there. There's nothing out there, right? So it's the same. Like this tool is projecting everything that we that is seen, but we're not. It's not seeing something that's out there. It's projecting from the void, from the void. I'm sorry, you guys, from the potential. So the same thing goes with a telescope. It's not detecting anything. It's operating directly from the potential and projecting what the narrative expects it to. Yeah. Isn't that wild though? Because it's just providing the narrative that you expect it to. It, it's amazing, isn't it? It's like, all right, well, you want more of a story? Here's your freaking story. Now shut up and just accept that it's true. Accept that it's real, right? But it's not. It's all just projection trying to keep the narrative that the voice in the head is accurate, right? It's all just trying to affirm that the voice in the head is true. Right. And your own expectation of what you expect to see, right? And it's all has to do with language in your description of it, right? It's all tied together. The resolution of the image that's projected is also dependent upon the language, right? If you have a very obtuse simple language, then it'll appear like Minecraft. But if you have a more specified language, let's say maybe mathematics, that it your resolution can get more precise. You can, but it's still all just projection. It's still all just illusion. Yeah, the object itself, yes, there is actually no separate fundamental separately existing object, but a word when superimposed over top of that specific group of sensations in this field of sensations, then that word, along with that specific combination of senses, produces the appearance of a separately existing object. But it actually fundamentally isn't there. If there was no word associated with that experience of those senses, there would be no separately existing object appearing without word. Um, the senses are not created by thoughts. The voice in the head doesn't create the physical world. The voice in the head creates the appearance of separately existing objects. If you just walk around without any thoughts, without any words entering your consciousness, there's just a unified field of senses, right? That's what I call the waking state, a unified field of senses. And then when you superimpose words, when you focus your attention, okay, so the aperture is as wide open as it can be, right? So I'm not zooming in on any specific combination of senses at all. They're all just coming in at all equal force and attention simultaneously, right? They're all coming in. The field of senses is all arriving without any bias all at once. So that is basically the wave function, the experience of the wave function without words. So we don't recognize that symbol, which is language, works as the transmission that shifts your energy into the thought realm. Symbol is that which tries to connect the thought realm to the physical realm. But the thought realm is like it's like a virus that has no life of its own. It has to sap the life energy from your awareness. And it's the same with the physical world. Everything gets its life energy from your attention. So when you stub your toe, it's very easy to lose attention from self and have it laser focused on that sensation, right? That one particular sensation. But there's still, obviously, the entire field of senses that was potentially you could have paid attention to. Even though you stub your toe, there's still the sight of that bird flying around, right? So you can, it just so happens that our attention is usually drawn to the loudest, brightest, shiniest, flashiest thing, right? Basically, that which is most sensual, we are most attracted to. And that's what makes it appear so real, is that our attention makes it appear real while we're attending to it. Hmm. Right? This is what I was saying is that the more natural state is that of unity, right? If there's without words being attached, arbitrarily attached to sensations, there's just a unified field in which everything arises and passes in perfect synchronicity. The entire universe arises and passes. And the body is part of that. The body arises and passes with the universe. It's not like the body's here and the universe is separate from the body. It all arises and passes together in a frequency that, and my salvia experience was that explicitly experienced, directly experienced. My stroke of insight. That's a good title. When I was attending fire college to become a structural firefighter, I had to take paramedic training, and I was attended to two strokes. I was in the ambulance doing my practicum, and I've experienced two people having strokes. It it seems like if you're fighting it, it's a bad time. But other than that, there isn't much pain going on. It's just you what you thought that you could control before, you can't control anymore. Like so there's usually a lot of psychological freaking out attending a stroke, accompanying a stroke. So many of these stories about an atheist having an experience, and then all of a sudden, after that experience, they're not an atheist anymore. It's not usually that s- a theist or someone that's spiritually inclined has an experience and then they decide that there is no god, and then they're just going to become an atheist. It hardly ever is. It's always the reverse, isn't it? It's always the experience spurs on a change, a life changing change, a complete 180 in worldview. Whereas people who don't have these experiences, who just keep thinking, who just keep having thought experiences rather than like that they're following the thought path rather than going down the intuitive path. So it's usually experience changes their worldview into believing that there's something that is other than things, perhaps something divine that's transcendent. And then people who don't have these experiences, they don't change. But yeah, yeah. The and academia has a way of just squelching those experiences, right? It's and if you do, then it's not worth anything, right? The experience is just firings of neurons in the brain. So it's not, I don't know. They Materialists seem to believe that the theories and the thoughts are more real and more important than actual experiences. But those people would say you just believed that that happened, right? So these people are so fucked up. Sorry. So that even if you say you have an experience, let's say that I had a salvia experience, and when I say it's as real as anything that happened in this life, as real as me going and having a freaking peanut butter and honey sandwich, that experience is the salvia was just as real as that. I can say that undeniably. But they'll say that they seem to think that only experiences that can be recorded, maybe, are the ones that are real. If there's a recording of it and you can replay some sort of image of what happened, then that proves that that actually is real. But you don't need to record an event to prove that it's real, right? That seems to be what we're doing, is that if we can record all of the events that are happening in this world, then somehow that Ponzi scheme is going to make it real. right? Look what happened. Look, I really exist because there's a video of me doing that thing. So it really happened. Right. So they're not they're not judging reality on their own right perspective. They perspective as well. So they don't trust their own judgment. For some reason, it's almost like gravity, right? If there's more people there believing or looking at something, the more it appears, right? So that's one of the tenets basically of non-conceptuality is that the more attention you give something, the more real it will appear. So in the cities, like gravity, it's like a way of trying to make the illusion appear real through a Ponzi scheme. If everyone's looking at it, then it must be real, right? Because that person next to me agrees that it's real. So therefore it must be real. So I think that's what's happening with human consciousness is it's congealing into groups that are trying to manifest a like-minded reality. They're all trying to agree on what the illusion is, and then if everyone agrees on what the illusion is, then that must be reality because everyone agrees that that's what it is. There's no authority in the spiritual on the spiritual journey. There's you are the only authority. I'm giving you chocolate. You're welcome. I'm Willy Wonka. This guy. I love this guy. He quotes my stuff. Oh, there's nothing better than having someone quote your stuff, your esoteric stuff that you said freaking years ago. Birds chirping. Yeah. I think I might have said squirrels because a squirrel chirping is far more annoying than a freaking bird chirping. And the difference that the content of the thought process, the only reason why the content matters is that if it holds your interest, right? So the thought realm, the thoughts are just the algorithm is just trying to hold your interest by producing by presenting more options. Oh, well, how about this? Do you find this interesting? And it works, right? So mathematicians, their personality or karma or whatever makes them incredibly susceptible to being interested in that kind of a puzzle, in that kind of a system. So math isn't leading to some greater truth. Math is exactly that which produces the delusion. It just wants your attention. It just wants to siphon the life energy that is the attention of the mathematician. That's what math is. Math is a leech that sucks the life energy, or a virus that sucks the life energy out of the cell in order to give it life, to give itself life. Yeah, but math bifurcates via thought. It separates the thinker from the thought, I guess. But it's just there to hold your attention, to grab attention and hold it. That's every single experience in this realm is that part of the game that wants to keep you in the game. It just wants your interest to keep the game going. Your attention is the energy that keeps the game going. There isn't a more sensual part of the body than the tongue. The tongue is responsible for so much, forming words, tasting things, licking things. Well, gang, I think that's it for today. I have some lumberjacking to do. I'm a lumberjack. Cut wood, carry water. All right, thanks for showing up, guys. It's it's a little more enjoyable when someone shows up. So thanks.